Hey, good evening, everybody.
Hey, all right. Now, come on, get that light off. There you go. All right. We're ready to go, guys. As usual, we got the big team here. Captain Mike Haynes, Holt on the other end, running all the electrical, whatchamacallits, and me. And I guess Ron didn't wake up today.
Yeah, apparently not.
He might still be working in the office today. So,
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
some
But,
days it's like that.
you know,
Yeah,
it looks like we're starting to get some fishing reports. We had some nice weather last week,
we
and
did.
then we got some lousy weather for a couple of days. Of real windy. It was really windy yesterday.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, I didn't do any fishing last week at all. I was running a whole bunch of manatee tours, so I could tell you about the manatee, but it doesn't interest a whole lot of people.
Well,
But yeah, the weather warming up, and there's been a lot of people out there on the water, flooding Crystal River. So
we'll find
um,
out tomorrow. I got a charter tomorrow, and then we're going out with Michael Dawson on Wednesday to film.
okay, cool.
We haven't done anything with him out of Tarpon Springs in quite a long time, so
Yeah,
we're looking forward to that. See what happens.
gotcha.
And but other than that, I mean, uh, to let you know, so something. I just got a message, I guess, from John Rivers about the Sarasota deal. I haven't heard much since we talked about it last week about them wanting to charge $100 a month. Did you
No,
you're yeah.
$100 a month for what?
One of the ramps in Sarasota, the commissioners voted last week to only give 100 permits out to commercial fishermen, captains, to be able to launch at that ramp, and it's going to be $1,200 a year for the permit to park.
Wow. Yeah.
Come on, isn't that a public ramp? It's paid by the taxpayers.
Yeah. Well, they're realizing and uh, they're not alone. Here, you can go down to the public ramps and stuff like that. Um, Down to Fort Island Trail, there's only two because they're going to remove one of them here in the bay. But any other ramps that you are at, if you are a charter captain, it's not cheap. They want a piece of the pie. Everybody seems to want a piece of the pie. So unless you're willing to go down there as a charter captain and pay your $25 a year to use the public ramps, but then you got to fight everybody either in the morning or in the afternoon trying to get your boat in and out because it gets real busy since there's only two here in Crystal River. Um, yeah, you're going to have to pay somebody to use any other ramp. It's kind of sad.
Well, I mean, I don't mind paying. Like I pay Hillsborough County, and they charge me $115 for the year.
Hmm.
That's reasonable. Because I mean,
Right.
you're paying $5 every time you got to launch it, like a
Hmm.
Gandy boat ramp or one of those.
Yeah.
But to charge $100 a month
Hmm.
to use the
Yeah,
ramp.
and it's not uncommon though. I mean, I pay my fees, which I'm happy to do, especially where I'm at. I have no problem, no
How
complaints.
much do
But
they charge it where you're at?
they charge for you can do it for a couple days. You can do $3,600 a year, or 3 grand a year if you pay it first up front at the beginning of the year. So
Wait a minute. $36
no, 3,600 a year.
a year.
Now this is a semi-private ramp, along with your own parking and boat and table and everything else that they've got there. But yeah, there is. It's not cheap. So
3,600 a year.
yeah.
That's
So
Come on, guys. That's
well,
300 a
and that's
month.
the go. That's the going rate here. Just because access is not readily available, unless, like I said, you want to go to the public ramps, and
Yeah.
you kind of have a home base that way. Um, you meet your clients there at the dock. You've got all the facilities there. But if you go to the public boat ramps, there's no cleaning tables. Like I said,
Okay,
there's hardly any place for you.
but you're talking about these are private ramps. that you're talking about.
Yeah, private, semi-private ramps, correct.
Okay. In Sarasota, I'm talking about a regular boat ramp like Gandy Boat Ramp
Right.
that's owned by
But
the county.
even for another public ramp, not any affiliated with me, but there's another private ramp that or public ramp that yeah, I mean you can for charter captains if they want to go there, then they have to pay for it there as well. So it's just part of the business. And I get the private, and unfortunately, it's probably going to go that way. Right now, the city of Crystal River, they have another company that's doing their charge for residents to launch their boats at the place for the upkeep of the boat ramp and everything else that goes on there. But right now it's relatively inexpensive, but I wouldn't guarantee that over time, because the problem is one place starts doing it, then it just starts evolving to every place else. So,
Well,
it just
I
depends
mean,
on what you want.
yeah, to me, is if it's a private ramp, then the guy, hey, it's his property. But when you're talking about a place that your taxpayers' money is going to, the
Mhm.
money when you buy a boat and fishing tackle, all this money goes towards things like that, and then they're going to charge you because you're a charter captain.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's
Like I
not like
said,
you're going to keep your boat there. You're just
yeah.
launching your boat.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know, but I can foresee in the future that it is just going to continue. Not only Sarasota, but it probably all anywhere else. Um, it's a business, so they considered the business to be more traffic, a little more doxing on the time on the docks and everything else like that. So I am pretty sure that's what they're thinking.
Well, over here, Freddie Ortiz says that the Seminole boat ramp is $20 a day now. Every time you launch, 20
Yeah,
bucks.
and
So if
that's
you
that's
launch,
about average.
yeah, if you're launching 4 times a week, that's 80 bucks,
Yeah,
$320 a month. Yeah, 3,000 something dollars. But yeah, you know what's going to happen is it's almost going to make it cheaper to keep your boat at the marina.
yeah, yeah, to a certain degree.
Yeah, well,
I
if you
mean,
think about it,
that's kind of what you have to look at. But then and do you want to leave your boat in the water the whole time and or trailer it? So yeah, those are those things that make the bottom dollar. Figure out what your budget's going to be and what you can afford to do. I mean, charter captains, we're not millionaires.
no, I know.
If you want to be a millionaire, don't be a charter captain.
You remember at one time they were talking up in Tallahassee about putting the sales tax on your charter. And
Mhm.
boy, we all got in arms about that because we said, listen, you're already charging like $600 to take somebody out. Then you're going to charge them another 7%, another $42 for sales tax. Why? And
Mhm.
I mean, they back down off of that. But boy, anyway, they can figure make a buck.
Yeah,
They're going to want to do it.
yeah,
So I don't know.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's just going to continue. Um,
Well, I'm glad I'm not a young man starting out in this profession
mhm.
because I don't see this in the next 6 to 8 years. It's going to be really tough for a regular charter captain to make a decent living.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does. So Donald, so Jessica's still sick. Wow, she's been fighting it.
She caught the
I've got
water bug. It hit her
yeah,
hard.
I've got I've got people sick at my house as well, so it's trying to seclude myself from everybody.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do.
'Cause
You
I
know.
got charters later this week, and then I got traveling to do next week. So and yeah, so
So
it'll
tell
be
me now that kind of like everything is settling down, what actually came out of the snook thing, the kill up there where you were at?
well, I think we saw what we saw. There didn't seem to be any more kills. I think it was, any kill is no good regardless, but I don't think it was as bad as it could have been, is the best way I can describe it. But there was still a lot of fish killed, spread all over. I hated to see the large fish die. Big
That's the one
trout,
that
big
you always
snook.
worry about. Yeah, the
Yeah,
nice fish. Yeah.
yeah. The young ones you can always expect it, but then it's the larger ones that the breeders that you really don't want to happen to. And sure enough, but I've had no other reports. Haven't seen any big, you know, clouds of them out there or floating or anything else like that. So I think we made it through with as minimal damage as possible.
He said, Josh says, what were the manatees biting on lately? Right. Since
Yeah,
you're
that
out there all week, yeah.
yeah, that's it. That's they were biting on ropes.
Oh God.
Throw a rope in the water, they're going to bite on it. Yeah,
Uh,
it's one of those things I still do every time, from time to time. I mean, it's as a charter captain, you make money where you make money, so that's what it
Hey,
is.
so some people do like you're doing, which is great. And then,
Hmm.
hey, there's some that worked at Dick's Sporting Goods part time and
Yeah.
or Lee Fisher, Tampa Fishing Outfitters. You'd be
Hmm.
surprised. Everybody thinks, oh, this captain's on the water all the time. You're not on the water all the time. Don't
No.
don't get the captain that tells you he's on the water every day. He's the guy you better avoid because he's lying to you.
Yeah.
It ain't that easy, you know.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I trust me. I have several hats that I wear, um, because one of the reasons is I don't want to be out there 7 days a week. Honestly, it'll wear you down, and where it's just too difficult. So I'm good with doing 2 or 3 a week. I'm fine with it. I have no problem with it. So I wear other hats just to supplement income and go from there. I just I like to keep it. I like to keep it enjoyable when I go out.
well,
So
the other thing too is, if you start doing it steady, 6 days in a row, 6 days in a row, after a while, it starts taking its toll on you. And
hmm
then what happens? And I've seen this happen over the years. I've been in this business a long time. Captains that used to be great, had a great time, they actually get burnt out
hmm
to the point where they go out to go out, but you don't see that enthusiasm. You don't see that radiance that, hey, let's go fishing. Yeah, let's go
yeah,
fishing. It's
yeah,
like, okay, yeah, I got to take this guy out tomorrow.
hmm
And
yeah,
I want to get him back to the dock and get on home. I'm tired.
yeah,
So captain's life is not an easy life. People think it is. Well, let me tell you, folks, you get up every day at 4:30, 4:45 every morning, and then in the spring you're catching your bait. By the time the captains pick you up at 8 o'clock at the dock, he's been up for 3 hours.
right,
And
yeah,
he's been working for 2 of those 3 hours, putting the
hmm
boat in the water, getting the bait, getting everything ready. So when you show up, he's got a big smile on his face, the boat is clean, and you're going to have a good time. And then after you leave, he's got to clean that boat and get on home and get ready for the next day. So it,
correct,
it is not easy.
yeah.
I can tell
Eat,
you that
eat
right now.
dinner, shower, do all those things, get all the prep work done. Hopefully, you don't have to re-spool um, a rod or get more tackle or whatever else. It's going to take time. So yeah, that normal 4 hour or 6 hour trip, that's a 12-hour day for a captain. Period. It's
Oh
12
yeah,
hours.
yeah. People don't realize a 4 hour trip is an 8 hour,
Hmm.
about a 9 hour day.
Yeah,
And when you start that's why inshore, I mean, these offshore guys, I tell you, man, they're getting up at 3:30,
yeah,
4 o'clock in the morning because, you leave the dock at 7:30 and you don't get back in because you got to do an 8 hour trip. You're running offshore. By the time you get back in, he gets home, it's 8 o'clock at night.
hmm
He's already been up for a long, long time and getting up
yeah,
again the next day. I don't care. When you're real, real young, you kind of can tolerate it. But let me tell
right.
you, as
Hmm.
far as Mother Nature creeps up on you, and I can tell you that for a fact. I
Yep.
remember when I was younger, I could do doubles and come home and just smile how much money, how much fun I had. And then you get a little older and you say, well, maybe I don't want to do a double tomorrow. And
Yeah.
then you get down to you doing one and you say, well, maybe I don't want to do three in a row. Maybe two in a row and take a day off and then do one or two more. You know,
Hmm.
you learn the hard way.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And I mean, I do know captains here in Crystal River, and they're 5, 6, 7 days a week, and they're constantly nonstop. And you know, and I've talked to them a few times, and I've heard them say a couple times, "I got to find something else to do." And they talk about doing something else, doing something, and then they just go back to doing what they're doing, and it just becomes a grind. And I just don't want it to happen that way, and that's kind of why I stick to inshore as well, because I did the offshore in Pensacola, and just it'll take a beating on you. Especially Pensacola. When you here, it's a little different. I mean, you got to run a ways out there to get some good fish and stuff like that. But Pensacola, you're dealing with 3 to 4 foot swells sometimes, chop, and you're just beat to death by the time you get home. And you got a 26-foot or 30-foot boat to clean by yourself.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a young man's game, and I don't want to do it anymore. So I stick with inshore. I'm happy.
When I was younger, I was hot on offshore. And then as I started getting older, and I said, if I'm going to do this for a living when I retire, I think inshore started to sound a lot easier and a lot more fun. And it is, because, and especially with so many rules and regulations on federal waters, God.
Yeah, and especially here, Crystal River. I mean, you have to run, to get out to any deep water and anything. It's 30 to 40 to 50 to maybe 80 miles just to get to some good water for deep water fish or snapper or whatever else, and that's long runs. Pensacola, every once in a while I could do it in my inshore boat. I'd just take my flats if it was nice out, catch a few trout and redfish. I go 3 miles off and I'm in 90 foot of water, and we'll get some deep water species. And that was great. I mean, I could get it all done just in one little trip, but the days you can't take it out there and you got to run still, even there, it was 10, 12 miles. It just, you can't do it. So inshore to me, I may run 13 miles from the beginning of Kings Bay all the way to where I got to go fishing, but that's a wonderful 13 miles.
It's not 4 foot seas, 13 miles.
Yeah.
Now, I have not heard any. I've been trying to find on the internet, see if any commotions on Facebook. Haven't heard anything else about the cruise ship terminal out of South St. Pete, I think Bradenton area. So I haven't heard anything about that.
No, I've seen a lot of petitions going on about it, and a lot of emails and stuff going out to the local government and the representatives to try to stop that. But it amazes me what they can look at and go, yeah, we need a port there, instead of thinking, hey, we need to protect that. Hey, how can we make money off of it? It's a sad thing.
And that's all they think about is their mighty dollar. And, if to make a turning basin and how deep it's got to be, and the docks and everything, it'll ruin the fishing. It'll ruin the fishing everywhere. Yeah. I mean, it will really ruin it. No question about it.
Well, I mean, we've seen it all our lives. Any development on the Florida waters has destroyed the water, period. It just does. There's no going around with it. The seawalls, the dredging, the traffic, it just destroys the environment. It destroys the fishing, and that's all. But, the greenbacks is what they care for, so that's what happens.
That's where the money's at, so that's what they're going to want, Mm-hmm. And it hurts.
It does.
So, anyway, Pam, I guess if she got us a fishing report, so let's see what she's got to say.
Sure.
So let's get Pam on there.
Hello everyone, another saltwater fishing report from the kayak angler Pam Worth. The bite has been outstanding. Trout bite. This is the time of year where the big trout come into the West Coast area. Look at this girl that I caught on Friday. Isn't she beautiful? A couple things about trout. Make sure you wet your hands before you pick them up and try to get them back in the water as quickly as possible. 2 ways that I really like to catch trout is, one, my favorite, the topwater. Here you see the Spook Junior, made by Hedden. It's one of my favorites. Just keep a constant twitch, and it seems to work out very well. The other way I like is a fluke. On a worm hook or owner's twist lock, you just toss it as far as you can, let it sink, pop, pop, let it sink, pop, pop. You'll get that trout on there every time. My favorite place to find trout is somewhere about the same place you're going to find your big reds. If you're catching little trout, you're probably in too deep of water. Speaking of reds, oh my goodness, that's been off the hook too. I was at Fort DeSoto and got a baker's dozen, probably within about 4 hours in different locations. They weren't schooled up. They were one here, one there, etc. 2 ways again that I love to catch them. One is on that jerkbait, same type situation, kind of pop, let it sit on the bottom, pop, pop, let it sit on the bottom, pop, pop. It'll work that way. Another one is a jig head. This happens to be the Maddox. I like that the where you tie it on to the jig head is higher than a lot of other jig heads. This helps you get through rocks and oyster beds a little easier. The Swimming Mullet by Gulp is another great option. So anyhow, tight lines. Hope to see you on the water. If you have any questions, just holler.
And thank
Thanks,
you,
Pam.
Pam. Appreciate
Yeah, she's actually showing a couple of my favorites right now for fishing for trout at this time of year. Water temperature is jumped up to about 64 degrees here in Crystal River, and it's about time for that topwater bite.
Well, last week it was all where I was at was 58, 59. It got to 61 one day. One of my trips, you know.
Well, it's definitely warmed up. We've had a lot of days of sun, and it's getting to that point where we're going to start throwing those lures around for the trout. That Spook, the Rapala Skitterwalk is the one I really like, and that color she had with the little chartreuse on there, it's one of my favorites, and I throw it all the time. I enjoy it.
I like the electric chicken.
Electric chicken. It's always a weird color, but it works so well. I just
you
never
look at it,
understood.
you say, why do fish like it? Because I don't see anything to be attractive to it.
Well, like I said, the trout gave a seminar at the Tampa Boat Show last year. Is about the trout and their color blindness to a couple colors. So I think those colors as we see them is not what they really see. The green is going to turn to be a little brown, and that pink is going to be a little more silver. So I think that's kind of where that correlates with them. And
whatever it is, it works.
It does. It's just one of those things that triggers them. So, hey, I don't care what color it looks like. It looks good.
It catches fish.
Looks good to them. That's good enough.
Now the sheephead bite is getting better over here, and
It
actually,
is.
I found we were filming Wednesday, and we were on the ship's channel, and that bite was kind of slow. We came inside and caught a few reds and some sheephead, but we found this one dock that I've been, I know most of my docks pretty well down here. But this one here is one of those fluky ones that, you never really paid attention to. And the water's been crystal clear. I mean, you can look down 12, 14 feet, see the bottom. Yeah. That's how clean it was. And I got to this place right at the end before we were leaving, and we looked down there, and I swear there must have been 35 sheephead on these rock piles. You could see them. And tons of spadefish and 4 or 5 big reds swimming in the rocks.
Yeah.
So, but, we said, it's time to go. The next day I had a charter, and it was so foggy you couldn't see the bow of the boat. You couldn't see the windshield on the boat. Yeah. So I left the marina strictly on GPS and went over to the yacht club, which is 3 city blocks away, and it took me 20 minutes to get there. But there's a canal in there, and it was negative tides. And we started getting a few trout. And when the fog lifted just enough that I thought it was halfway safe, I ran to this dock. We sat there for 2 hours and 40 minutes, and these guys would not want to leave. I mean, they only landed about 8 sheephead, but
Yeah.
they lost about 25.
Right.
But it
Right.
to them was just like being able to, you could put the shrimp down and see the sheephead come up to the shrimp and peck
Mhm.
on it, you know? Oh man.
Yeah.
Actually, I enjoyed it, you know. It turned out to be a really a fun day, you
Yeah.
know. So I'm glad to see that the sheephead are that they're here, and they were decent size. Yeah.
Yeah. The sheep's head bite is definitely picked up here as well. We're getting them kind of offshore just a little bit. I haven't hit the South Rocks yet, and that's what I plan to do this week. But so far, I'm catching sheep's head, trout, and monster reds on the same hole. So you don't have to move very far to get your fish. But sheep's head bite is definitely picking up, and it'll continue through March, probably about the beginning of April and stuff like that. So it's I'm looking forward to it. That's probably what I'm going to try to do. I've got Thursday and Friday. I'm going to be out, so hopefully I can get out there and check some of those, do some rock hopping, and get me some sheep's head as well for the client. So it'll be fun. I always look forward to this time of year. I loved it in Pensacola as well. March was the month that we just kill the sheep's head, but it's a fun time.
Yeah.
It's fun to break up the monotony of trout and redfish for all winter.
Well, you know, tomorrow, I guess the wind's going to be up a little bit tomorrow. Not
Yeah.
bad, but about 11 to 15, I think. So
Yeah.
it's not, but we had some days last week where it was almost flat calm. It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
And then actually the foggy day, it was a little breezy, yet there was a lot of fog. And it hung both days. Fog hung in there till about 10 o'clock. I
Mhm.
mean, it didn't clear up early. It was about 10 o'clock before you
Yeah.
could see, you know, the sky again.
Mhm.
You know, so
Yeah, we've had it here a few times. Past few days, it's been pretty clear though. You hadn't had to worry about it. But I think now Saturday it was pretty foggy, but Sunday it cleared up and go from there. But yeah, we had that south wind coming Saturday and Sunday, and that's what kind of blew some warmer air in over that cold water and created all that fog. But I think it'll be cleared up this week.
yeah.
Like I said, the temp look really nice.
And I love when the water gets, you know, there's no algae bloom, and you get come and you can look down and see those fish down there. And I mean, my clients just they can't believe it. You know, Tampa Bay, actually the water's it's pretty clean in the winter because you don't have all the algae bloom. My only concern is if they start dredging and doing all this other stuff, it's going to mess it up.
Mhm.
And what happens, you get a lot of this silt from the dredging gets up on the grass flats and
Yeah.
kills the grass.
Kills in
The
a
grass,
heartbeat.
yeah,
Yeah.
it kills them. You're absolutely correct.
Mhm.
Now, I just wondered what's going up around Hudson in that area. Uh, uh, as far as the fishing goes, I haven't heard much. But Scotty's going to have a report today, so we'll see what's going on down south of here. And
Yeah.
the other thing too, I saw some reports about St. Augustine in that area. You know, at one time that used to be what I want to call the big trout capital. I mean, you went there and you caught big 30, 32-inch trout.
Mhm.
And the last 4 or 5 years, they said it's gone downhill real fast to the point that catching a 19-inch trout is considered a big catch.
Yeah.
And that's something, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happened there in Tampa years ago in the 80s. I mean, we were bringing home some nice trout, 32, 36-inch trout, no problem. And then just slowly over time, it changes. I will say, you know, as far as up here, Crystal River, 10 miles out, you know, we were catching good 26, 27-inch trout. So I think it may be an ebb and flow type thing. You know, you get a big influx of big ones for so many years, and then it just kind of shuts down for a little bit, and hopefully it comes back up. I mean, our trout here hasn't been great in the past few years, but it seems to be getting better. So maybe they're just going through a cycle, or, you know, a theory that a friend of mine and I talked about is the regardless of a fish, they're still pelagic. They'll still move around.
Oh yeah,
And
they
you
got
wonder
tails,
if
you
they
know.
just, the mass, kind of like crab. How if you ever watch The Deadliest Catch, you got the crab are here. One year they're great, and then the next year there's nothing there, and the whole mass has moved 10 miles down the way. And it could be the same thing with these fish. And I don't know if there's any study been done on that at all, but I just wonder if there's just a mass movement of fish due to feeding, weather patterns, water quality, stuff like
Well,
that.
right here in my backyard, Wheaton Island is a good example of that. Up to about 5 years ago, I mean, you could count that about mid-March, April, and May, you had these huge schools coming around the island. And I'm talking 150, 200 redfish, big redfish. And you
Mhm.
could count on them. You just had to sit in certain areas and wait for them. You might have to wait 30, 40 minutes, but you could see it looked like a red wave coming. And if you were
Yeah.
smart and you were sitting there, you started chumming, you could pull out 8 or 10, I'm talking 34, 40-inch redfish out of this school.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, one year, they weren't there. And,
Yeah.
and now, the last 5 years, I would say, you'll see a school once in a while, maybe 20, 25 in a school. And there's a few big ones in there, but they're not consistent anymore.
Yeah.
Where before I could get up and say, hey, Mike, we're going to go tomorrow. We're going to get some 34, 38-inch redfish in the morning around 9:30 because I
Mhm.
knew the school was going to be coming by. But those days are gone. So again, either is it a migration thing that changes them? Is it the red tides that we had? Is it
Mhm.
what could cause these fish, something that they've been doing for 8 or 10 years in a row, all of a sudden to change their pattern? That's what
Right.
I'd like to know. You
Yeah.
know,
Or is it just the fact of overfishing? I
well,
mean, you know, and that's a big possibility as well. Um, so I mean, for some years down there in Fort DeSoto, we go camping and stuff like that. For years I'd catch a bunch of trout, top water, no problem, and then couldn't find reds or couldn't find snook. Well, now it's harder to find trout that normally you would find in those potholes and catching them on top water and stuff like that. Now I'm finding more redfish and more snook. So, it's kind of weird. And then the tarpon, you don't see, I mean, I can't, the tarpon would roll through Fort DeSoto area in just so many big pods. There'd just be a train of them coming through.
yeah, you could just
And
go
the
on the
charter
beach, right
captain,
off the beach and get them.
yeah, charter captains would sit there and they had their own floating buoys that they'd tie their boat up to. And once they got, connected, they just quick release and then they'd go around. But they'd have the same place that they'd set up day after day, catching these trains of tarpon. And now you go out and I don't see them like I did.
Yep.
Don't see them at all. But now, yet in Crystal River, where the record for Florida came from, haven't seen a whole lot of tarpon until just this past year or two. I've seen more tarpon here in Crystal River than I've ever have. So, it's I really don't have an explanation for it. Maybe there is something to that where they just kind of move from location to location for a few years and everything kind of changes.
So, well, let's hope for the best because
Yeah.
what's going to happen this year, for example, I'm looking at it. How many tournaments is going to be held inside Tampa Bay?
Hmm.
It looks like 25, 30 tournaments, and they're all going to be somewhere between mid-March, April, May, into June, and then September, October, November. Well, you start having 35, 40 of these things, and they're corporate events, but you got 40 to 50, 60 boats pounding the same areas
Hmm.
week after week. And it's gotten so bad that they're starting to hold tournaments on a Monday, some on Thursdays, because places like Hula Bay, like the Getaway, Finn's, all these restaurants, it's only one of them. So you can't have, they're booked every Friday. Every
Yeah.
Friday they're booked for some kind of a fishing function. Well, so these guys are having to say, okay, what's left? Hey, do you have Thursday open? Or do you have a Monday open? So not only you're talking about if you do a tournament on a Thursday, a Friday, and then you have the weekend people out there, Saturday and Sunday. You know, it's tough because they all go. Us captains have done such a good job of teaching people over the years. I did it with my fishing school of where to go and how to do it. That they know now all the good spots around Wheaton Island. They know all the good
Hmm.
spots around
Yeah.
Bishop's Harbor. So when you go somewhere, it ain't like in the old days. You would see 2 or 3 guys way down there. Now you go into what you think is your spot, and there's already 3 boats there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder that because I've been a victim of it as well. I used to teach people, take them out on my boat or take them out on their boat, teach them techniques and how to fish and just, make sure they have a good day when they're out on the water. And then, I go out on a charter and now I've got 5 boats in a place that I was catching a lot of fish from. And you learn after a while, guess we can't do that anymore because we create our own monster.
and especially in some areas where you have a lot of open area. I thank God in your area, you got all these little islands and all of this stuff.
Mhm.
Chaskawiska's that way. If you don't know your way around, not everybody gets around. But in Tampa Bay, it ain't that many. You got a big bay of water, but what do you got? Wheaton Island, Cockroach Bay, Bishop's Harbor, Simmons area. You've only got certain areas that the fish are going to be.
Yeah.
It's not like, you go down to Pine Island. I mean, you got all these little islands. You got all this all over the place, and it's all scattered. There might be the same amount of boats that's in Tampa Bay, but you don't see them because they're so scattered out. Where in Tampa Bay, they're really getting concentrated.
Yeah, they are.
And if anybody's out there that's listening in, if you want to comment, let us know. We'd like to hear what you think of what's going on out there because it's pretty good. It's pretty good for the fish because they're getting fed a lot, but it's not pretty good for us because we're having a harder time to catch them. And
game plan always changes.
Let's do Scotty and see how he's doing down there.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is Captain Scotty Rowe from Charlotte Harbor. I know I haven't chimed in a few weeks, but we had that really, really bad cold weather, and to be honest with you, the fishing was not so great, but it definitely on an upswing right now. Our water temp's coming up. We did lose our white bait here in Charlotte Harbor, but there are some reports it's coming back down there around, Pine Island, Jug Creek, stuff of that nature. But I've been fishing in the upper harbor, and this last week, every day the fishing gets a little better and better and better. Been really having a wonderful time sheep's head fishing. I've been doing a lot of that in the Punta Gorda Canal systems, and we have 2 reefs in the harbor. One we call Danger Reef, which is out off of Cape Hayes, and we have the Alligator Creek Reef, and they're just loaded with some monster sheephead. I'm going to send a few photos of that over. And phosphate docks, I haven't fished it, but I know some other captains that have been, and some of the offshore, near-shore wrecks, just been waylaying the sheep's head. Big ones, over 20 inches. Using either frozen sand fleas or just plain frozen shrimp. Works great. Trout bite has definitely, for some reason, been a little tough for me. I'm getting a few every day, but nothing super, super big. Getting a lot of small little redfish in that 16 to 20 inch range, which has been nice. So things are starting to pick back up. The snook bite is still not what it should be, but I would suspect within the next week as this water temp warms up, things are going to get way better. And I'll repeat myself. Like I said, every day the fishing gets better and better and better as the water warms. So, but we got some good things going on here in Charlotte Harbor. I'll send some photos over with the report, and tight lines, everybody, and we'll talk at y'all next week.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thanks, Scotty.
Hey, the white bait left. We haven't seen white bait here for 3 months.
Yeah.
We haven't seen any for 3 months.
It won't show up till May or June for us. So yeah, it's been gone for a while.
See, that's another thing, Mike. You could always almost set your clock by 1st of April, April Fool's Day. Kingfish would be off of Clearwater, St. Pete. Whitebaits in the bay, and water temperature was pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, those things I looked at some of my files. April 15th, we've had really cold days.
Yeah.
And whitebait, some years in the last 6 years, we had a couple of years, whitebait didn't even move in till May.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, all of this affects the fishing too, because things like mackerel that we get into the bay, which is a good thing, because that helps, especially if you got real bad tides in the morning, you go out to the humps or places like that, and you get your clients on some mackerel, that gets them going. They're tickled pink about that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. April tends to bring in, once we see the turtles, because you go out early morning, you just see a bunch of turtle heads popping up, and you know the bite's going to start really picking up. Pinfish will start coming in. You start throwing your traps out there about the end of March, and then you see the tarpon start rolling in, and that's usually our time frame for things to really start moving here. Once you start seeing all the turtle heads pop up.
Now, you don't see any pinfish, you said, till late March?
Yeah, I mean, there's still some in the backcountry and stuff like that, but for us, when we put the traps out, overnight soak, you want a full trap by the next morning. Usually by March or so, sometimes you'll have to put 2 or 3 traps out, and you just kind of have to rotate them because they'll need a little extra time to catch more pinfish in them. So it's there's some in there right now. There's still some around, but not the quantity that we normally have till after April or so.
Yeah, we've caught a few pinfish in the last couple of weeks, but when you get one, it's a pinfish. I mean, I saw some look like
Wow,
4 or 5 inches. I mean, big suckers. You can almost eat those things. They look like panfish. So I guess those are just the diehards that live there, aren't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, no, they'll move up to find some more bait and smaller fish and stuff near the docks and everything else like that, because the grass flats are probably pretty empty. I would imagine.
I haven't checked that much, but I wonder what the life cycle is of a pinfish. Do you know?
I would say the percentages are probably pretty low for them to get that big. You just don't see a ton of them. I mean, you do, offshore, down on the rocks and reefs, you'll see if some of the bigger ones there, but I think they're, the only ones I've seen that are very, very large are usually in aquariums. So that's about it. Every once in a while, we'll catch a big one out there in the deep water, but it's not too often. So I would think their percentage of getting that big is very, very low.
Real low, especially when they get caught in traps. That almost guarantees them that they're not going to get very big.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do notice the same thing. Yeah, usually right about the time that the whitebait moves in, the pinfish start moving in, and they could be, and usually they come in. In the last few years, they've come in ahead of the whitebait, because you'll go out and start throwing the net, and it's like a pattern. Right just before daylight, you'll throw the net a couple of times, and you start getting 30 or 40 whitebait, and you say, all right, they're starting to come in. I'm going to get them really chummed up. And then the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th net time that you throw it, all of a sudden is 25 whitebait and 75 pinfish.
Yeah.
So it looks like I think they come in quicker than the whitebait does, and then they get in there. So
right.
Yeah. But all right, let's get what do you think? Jim Pace?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Hey guys, this is Jim with your Pasco County Fishing Report. I'm back after a few weeks. I finally got out on the water. This week was a fairly interesting week when it came to finding the fish and seeing what was changing as far as the trend, so I could give you guys kind of an update. That cold front hit. It didn't hit us as bad as where I've seen other people get hit. I didn't see any floating snook, things like that. any around when I was out. I've heard and seen a few videos of them in our area, but I personally didn't see any when I went out. So I think we made out pretty well. The big snook that I did find Thursday and Friday, they were sitting in kind of the same area. I came across them. They were kind of staggered on a shoreline back in a bayou where the water temp is actually 68 in this particular area. It was 63, 62 everywhere else, but back here it was about 60, 68. And there were some big girls stacked up. Probably about 6 or 7 of them I saw. Maybe 8 or 9, I don't know. There was every other area where there was a creek kind of pushing, there was a big girl just sitting there. I was really just running the shorelines just to look, so I didn't go after them at all. I didn't feel like it was the right thing to do to try and go after them and risk them dying after catching them. Redfish was the good bite once again this week for me. I had to find them though. They were definitely tough to come by. I found a lot of rat reds, and then if I stayed in that same area where I found the rat reds, I came across a big redfish. So just persistence was the key this last week. Moving slow, not going anywhere too quick, working an area very thoroughly. If you think the fish are going to be there, any place where I've seen warmer water, where it's gone from the 62, 63, 64 to 65, 66 degrees, that's where I found the redfish and the mullet. The mullet were very stagnant during these weird tides that we had. I fished during that kind of a flat tide where it went from low tide to high tide, but it only moved like 0.4 of an inch of water. It was very unique situation. And that's what I fished both those times, just to see what was going on. And the mullet were just stagnant, like they were not moving. But you could find them. Fortunately, they were sitting up and moving up enough to where you could find them, and that's how I found the redfish. And then as far as trout go, the trout were actually sitting on like this hard rocky bottom. Anywhere I was fishing that had kind of any moving water whatsoever, on the hard rocky solid shell kind of bottom, I would get on a few trout. Fairly decent sized trout when I did find them, so that was always a positive. They were pretty good sized trout this time. I didn't really get into any smaller trout. I didn't try and go to any deeper spots to see if they were stacking together, or didn't go in any bridges or anything like that. Sheep's head, still a good bite. I found those on rock piles in these canals. A few rock piles that I know of. They were pretty good sitting there. Big one was, I think, around 18 inch. I posted the picture. They were hitting. I had to use fiddlers because the water temp in the particular area, they still held a lot of pinfish, so I couldn't use shrimp. I had to use straight just fiddler crabs on a number 1 hook with just a split shot on it. Let it sit on the bottom and just wait for that little thump, because they definitely don't pull it hard. So you can do that, and you'll be able to get on the sheep's head pretty well right now. I've seen people getting them offshore, still in that 10-foot, 12-foot range. I didn't make it off there at all because of the fog. But other than that, the bite's really good. Shrimp's still the key. Cut mullet for redfish if you're looking to try and just get on redfish, and then fiddlers for sure on the sheep's head. And there's still a lot of sheep's head around. They're definitely doing really well. Other than that, I'll see about this next week. It looks like great tides and great weather this week, so I should be able to get on a good bite, and I'll be able to give you guys something next week. See ya.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, that's what happened to us last week. We hit one spot and it was all rat reds, and and they were white. I mean, Mike, they had no red in them. They were just pure white. I guess maybe because the water was so clear, and they were on sandy bottom. I mean, they were. You look at them, it looked like somebody put bleach on them.
Yeah, it happens, especially when they're on the lighter bottoms, and when they're cold, they just they kind of change their color a little bit. And as the summer progresses, excuse me, they you can see their colors start to come back when they're back on the grasses and feeding on more crabs and shrimp and stuff like that. I think it's the fact that they're eating a lot of bait fish. Whenever bait fish comes around, something like that, because they're just not eating on those crustaceans as much as they usually do. And I think that's probably what does their color changes. But
It could be because
they do change their colors.
There was no blue tail on them, so that's telling you they weren't eating shrimp.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we get that quite a bit, and especially when you're fishing around the river, that hard bottom, some of that muddy bottom, oyster beds, their color definitely changes compared to the ones that are out there and around the mangroves that you catch out there. They're a little lighter in color, but they still have some sort of color. But the ones in the river tend to be almost silverish. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, when you looked at them, you said, "God, they don't look like a redfish."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were just so light. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I actually no red on them, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
now that when you said that, yeah, I noticed no color on their tail. Usually, the darker the blue, the more shrimp, crustacean, they've been eating. So maybe
Yeah.
this fish hasn't been eating much because of the cold weather. They were just getting
Yeah, it
back
could
into
be.
it.
I mean, there's a couple times when we're sitting there fishing for trout, and all of a sudden, we got one. Oh, that's a decent fighting like a decent trout, and it comes up, and it's actually just a smaller red, but the color looks like a trout. It's just nice and silver. So it happens.
So and Donald, him and his kayak is always catching. Donald, what do you think about all these redfish right now? If he's listening in, that they have no color on them, and I think it's everywhere. I don't think it's
Mhm.
just because a lot of the pictures I see, they look real pale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, which is surprising because you would think, especially when it's cold, and they love to get up in that. When you got the cold water and they love to get up in that sun and try to absorb some of that heat, they would kind of do a little color change to a little darker color to do that. But nope, they stay that silver in the cooler months or when they're on hard bottom. It's kind of wild.
So we'll see what happens now. So next week, what do you think? What are you looking forward to this week as far as the bite in Crystal River?
It's definitely picked up. The trout bite is definitely picked up regardless. And we're seeing bigger schools of reds out there on the flats and around the mangroves than we have been. So they've been the reds out in the mangroves. Now in the river, I'm still catching them pretty consistently. But out and around the mangroves, there's been a lot of big schools, but they're just not biting. They're just not hungry. And sometimes you'll have to sit on them for about 45 minutes to an hour just to get one bite. So they're there. I think it's just a transition period, and probably this week, I would assume that they're going to really start biting because we've got the warmer weather. The water temperature is about 64 degrees, and it's just going to continue to warm up from here as long as we don't get any big cold snap come down, which I don't know that we are, but we always get that cool snap coming around Easter regardless. So,
Amen to
we'll
that.
see what that happens, but I will definitely let you know by next week because, like I said, I've got about 2 or 3 days on the water this week that I'll be out there fishing.
I'll find out because I said I'll be there tomorrow too and Wednesday. But all right, let's get Michael Dawson in before we run out of time here.
Hey guys, Captain Michael Dawson, your Patriotic Guide Service here with this week's fishing report and forecast. So this warmer weather we've been having, the fishing have been really firing off. Lots of trout on the flats, big schools of redfish. The sheep's head spawn's going on offshore. It's a really good time to get out there right now. Inshore, bait's been showing back up in some of the few spots like Howard Park, Power Plant. So get out there early morning, chum up for some bait. Not much is eating yet besides the trout, but having big bait's definitely key. When these days that water temperature hits 65, 68, they're going to really start firing off on them. Redfish schools have been seen on the flats anywhere between the Anclo Power Plant, Gulf Harbors, out there around Green Key. Big schools of redfish hovering about 100 yards off the shoreline. Very spookish fish with just clean water. Cut bait's been the key for them. Soak a piece of cut bait and let them come to you. Don't try to chase them or you're going to spook them off. Easiest thing going on right now, though, is the big schools of sheep's head offshore spawning. 20, 30 feet of water on any of your hard bottom and wrecks are loaded with sheep's head right now. Shrimp on a pink jig head, 3/8 half ounce have been the key, but still plenty of stuff on a knocker rig and Good to get out there and catch some fish. Captain Michael Dawson, Patriotic Guide Service.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. I think that might have been Flip Pallet's brother on his boat there. Did you see the guy?
Yeah.
Look like old Flip's brother.
I'm looking forward. We're going to be going out with him Wednesday to film, and we've always had a good show with him, just like with you. But both times that we did a show with you, we did really good.
Yeah, yeah.
And Mike always comes through. The last time the bite was a little slow in the morning, we caught some fish, and then he said, let's end the day right. We went into a canal, and we started landing 30 to 40 pound tarpon in this canal and on light tackle.
Nice.
And I mean, it was, we had them boxed in where they couldn't go very far, so they were jumping right next to the boat.
Oh,
I mean,
cool.
it turned out to be really nice. So
Good deal.
yeah, we can't complain about that. Well, people, you need to stay on top of what's going on. Captains for Clean Water, they're doing their thing. Everybody else is trying to do their best to try to keep our environment clean and going, because a lot of the stuff that's going out there, it's all about the green dollar bill. And sometimes, yes, people got to make a living. We all do. Yeah, people got to sell stuff. People got to build stuff. But sometimes you just can't do it all, or it's going to hurt a lot more than the money's worth.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And,
one way or the other, with the development, one aspect of Florida tourism or whatever else hurts because another one is propped up, and there's got to be a balance. And Florida, unfortunately, has been unbalanced for quite a while, and it needs to be balanced back. So if you get an opportunity, get with CCA or Captain for Clean Water or any of these places and use your voice. So far, we kind of got a win this past week up there in the Tallahassee for one of the bills that went through. They threw out a portion that would have hurt a lot of things. So use your voice. It does work.
And have you heard anything else about the CCA and the cancellation of the Star
I
Tournament?
haven't, I haven't looked into it either.
It's been real quiet on the internet. I mean, it's been really quiet. Normally,
it's been quiet. So I really haven't heard much. I probably need to reach out, but I just haven't been able to.
I sent Lisa, when I sent you a text, I sent Lisa a text today too, because of June 6th, we're having the kids fishing clinic again. And FWC already responded. They're going to be there. Tampa Police Department's going to be there. Their dive team's going to be there. The mayor's going to be there. So I'm just waiting to hear back from CCA. Yeah. I mean, the Donald said it was canceled for the adults. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's just going to be for kids, it ain't going to live very long, because the chances are of parents taking kids out to do that, I hate to say it, ain't the best in the world. That's been my experience.
Right. Yeah. So we probably need to find out what's going on with that.
I'll try to call her tomorrow afternoon when I get back in. I hope to hear back from her, because I sent her a text today. So we'll see what happens. Gotcha. And all right. Well, listen, everybody, it's time for us to get off the air. Michael, Mike, you have a good trip this week. We'll stay in touch. And Hota, thank you again for putting the show together. We appreciate it. And guys, tell everybody, spread the word, and don't forget Fishing Adventures Florida and Fishing Chronicles, and Captain Mike and all of us for the TV shows on YouTube, Waypoint, Carbon TV, Action TV, Outdoor Angling TV, and Gen 7 Outdoors.
Yes, and please like and subscribe, everybody.
Right. There you go.
See you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.